Okay, today I thought I would read a children's book, maybe post it on YouTube. It's got some girls, maybe some women in the book. I don't have a girl to narrate their voices, so you just have to use your imagination. This is a children's book. I suppose ages probably 3 to 9 years old, a rough guess. I like it. It's called The Sea Chest. Do you see that? Look at that. The Sea Chest. It is a beautiful picture of a girl close to a lighthouse with the shimmering sun over the ocean with seagulls. She's holding on to a rock because a storm is coming. A storm is coming, and the book will tell you about the storm. It took a long time to position the camera, so I hope this works. You'll excuse me while I get a drink of water. Okay, now the Sea Chest by Tony Bazia and Mary Grand Prix. And at the beginning of the book it says, "For Ken and Chris, who shelter me from solitude, for all those who come to the rescue of others." Let us remember that we should come to the rescue of others, just like the lighthouse rescued the ships on a storm-tossed sea in a night of storms and wind. They could see a light, a beacon of hope, and would help them to see where the rocks are to avoid their boat being smashed by the rocks. Because many places where lighthouses were, there were big rocks by the shore. Now that was the introduction for all those who come to the rescue of others. Now I will start this story. One moment. The Sea Chest. You may hear birds chirping in the background. That's the seagulls, because I'm right by the lighthouse and I got the window open, and they want to hear me read the story. And if you believe that, I got another one for you. It's really my finches squawking. So here we go. Here is the first picture. There we go. And I will read it. City lights flicker in the dusk like winking fireflies. I hold my Auntie Mata's papery hand. Together we stare at the shiny photos in her lap, touched so often with hope the edges curl. My heartbeat rushes in an impatient waltz as we watch for the stranger to arrive. While we wait, Auntie Mata remembers her childhood on a rocky Maine island 80 years ago and more. Only child of the lighthouse keeper and his bride. She gazes out the window as she tells me the story. Oh, I just love this story. I love lighthouse stories. She's telling the story of when she lived on the lighthouse. The only child of the lighthouse keeper and his wife over 80 years ago. in the rocky shores of Maine. And I lived a year in Maine as a child, and in the wintertime, it is so cold. The snow and the ice are everywhere. And the snow plows make snow mountains. And it is so, so cold. Is all I remember about Maine. I will turn the page. Oh boy, this is kind of hard. Here we go. I was a solitary child, alone on Haley's Head Light for all my first 10 years, with just Mama to teach me my reading, and just my Papa to spin stories of the boundless world beyond the rocks of Sanctuary Island. I'm going to have to position this. The pictures are different on every page. This is the best I can do. Sanctuary, there's the lighthouse. And they lived on Sanctuary Island. Yes, sir. She longed for a time that she might not be the only child on the craggy island that she knew so very well. On Sanctuary Island. How fitting. After crashing on the shore in a boat, you might find that island a sanctuary, a place of shelter, a place of hope, with the lighthouse on the edge of the island, beaming its light across the cold, stormy seas, while the boats try to find their way to the rocky shores of Sanctuary Island. I threw that in for good measure. Here we go. Here we go. I will have to move this back and forth, back and forth. Yes, can you see her? There we go. It's going to be too hard to show the other picture. I probably should move the camera a little bit to the other direction. And maybe a little more. And maybe a little more. And that's the other picture. So, maybe back to here. I really had a good position, I thought. I thought I had a good position. If nothing else, you can laugh at me. Laugh, everybody laugh. Okay, this is my best. Okay, this is the woman remembering her past as a 10-year-old girl at Sanctuary Island. Spring mornings found me scrambling beneath the porch, robbing the brooding hens of their tawny eggs. I circled double-yolked days in yellow on the feed calendar above the Davenport. Supply boat days were double blue stars, with their promise of news, fellowship, and sugar to sweeten the summer tea. Imagine being out of sugar for your tea. Or out of sugar for your Kool-Aid. When pumpkins burned orange in the only garden plot, the rocky island held first days of homeschool were boxed in red. On her calendar, I suppose. So she was homeschooled. We all know about that, don't we? She was homeschooled. But when frost grew thick in winter, I huddled all day by the fire, cloaked in Mama's hand-stitched quilts. I left the calendar for warmer days and braided solitary stories. When it got cold, she held close to Mama to hear them stories she wanted to hear. So, here we go. This is really hard to do. The picture keeps shifting from left to right. One moment, please. One icy night, howling winds blew towering waves against the shore. My papa worried for all the ships upon the sea, ships in danger of faltering on the rocks and sinking into the stormy deep. And when he spotted such a vessel out beyond its reach, papa could do no more for the schooner ship nor crew than burn the light behind the Frenchel lens. Burn the light of the lighthouse, which is right there. There it is, the lighthouse. That's all they could do when the ship was too far out to shore. And I'm going to have the hardest time reading this book than I have ever before. It keeps on shifting back and forth. I thought I had a happy spot to show the picture, but maybe not. We'll try to show part of it. I just hope the birds are not too loud, for I don't want to redo this. In the frozen dark, the wind shrieked as wave upon wave, colossal wave, hurled against our rocky shore. I could just hear the wind howling. Shh. I could hear the waves crashing. Ka-choo, ka-choo, ka-choo. And somewhere out in the black, dark night, there is a beacon of light shining over the dark, stormy night. A beacon of light trying to rescue another boat. So the waves were tossing and churning and foaming, and it battered the parlor windows and trapped the reflection of the firelight upon the fragile panes. They rattled and panged until I cried and prayed they'd not crack in two. She prayed that the window panes would not crack in two, freeing the waves to wash us out to sea. Wow, were they that close to the ocean? Oh, the long night. Oh, the long night. Mama and I curled up against that fearsome storm while Papa made the perilous trip to and from the square light tower of the lighthouse. We slept not a dream's worth of sleep through all those blustering hours, fretting for the ship we could not see. We was worrying for that poor ship that we could not see, that was in the sea. And I am fighting a storm too. I am trying to position the camera, and I'm trying to keep the light from reflecting off these pictures. And I am trying to keep my voice from being hoarse, as it usually is when I read. One moment, please, and I'm running out of water too. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt this wonderful story. They were in the storm. The little girl was looking through the window. The wind was blowing and howling, and she was hoping the waves would not crash through the window. At dawn, the wind blew itself out, and the storm rode back across a glassy sea. Papa set off to scout the shore, and I went along as company, hoping for bits of sea glass to fill my windowsill jar. I clung to Papa's hand in the streaky light, while we slid down to the furthest rocks. So she went with Papa to see if anything washed up, if that poor ship crashed against the rocks the night before. And here she is. There she is with Papa, going to the ocean down the rocks. Yes, there she is. And I shall continue. As we drew near the shore, we saw a sodden bundle of eider-down mattresses tied with sailor knots. It lay heaped upon the rocks, washed up from the schooner. The storm must have swallowed in the night. Our eyes locked wide when we heard the tiniest cry from deep inside the padding. I guessed it was a kitten and held the wish close to my heart. You notice the birds are quiet? They're listening to me read the story. They want to hear it too. And I am simply, this is something new I learned my own self. They are being quiet, at least for now. There we go. Squatting beside Papa, I plucked and pulled with him at the ragged ends of the icy rope, our fingers purple without our gloves, our breath panting clouds of white in the morning air. When at last the rope came free, the mattresses unfolded to reveal a leather sea chest. Again I heard the meow. If I do that too much, my birds will copy me. So again the little girl heard the meow, and she said, and my heart soared with hope like the gulls reeling overhead, breaking the morning silence with their hunger. Papa lifted the latch and lid, and I curled my fingers tight. The frozen hinges squeaked their resistance. Squeak! Then slowly opened wide. And I will show you the sea chest. There it is. There's the sea chest opening wide. And if you'll excuse me again while I get a drink of something, anything, maybe some of this cranberry juice. So what was in the sea chest? Should I? Oh, you see it already, don't you? Yes. The camera gave it away. It is a baby. There is a baby in the sea chest. Look at the cute little baby. It does sound like a kitten, doesn't it? We stared down, not at a squalling kitten, but into the face of a small stranger, more purple than my fingers, from her crying and the cold. My heart pushed hard against my ribs as Papa lifted the baby, wrapped only in a quilt, into his arms. My breath caught a hard when he tucked her inside my coat. My arms enfolded her as I hummed a cradle song. Rock-a-bye, baby, on the treetop. When the baby's the cradle will drop. And da-da-da-da, cradle and all. She waved a note tied to her fragile little wrist. The baby had a little note to her wrist. She must have come from the boat that crashed. The poor people must be gone, but the baby survived in the sea chest. There's the note tied to the baby's wrist right there. There's the string that was wrapped around the baby's wrist. We must turn the page to see what it will say. And here it is. The little girl looks like she's got a friend now. She's not alone on Sanctuary Island. Now she's got a little baby. Papa's happy too. But what did the note say? What did the note say? Papa read the note aloud and shook his head to think, he said, these desperate parents loved their baby so much. They were willing to cast her upon the sea. Tears rolled down my frozen cheeks as I nestled her close to my chest. There upon the rocks I named her Seaborn, then carried her home to be my sister. Aha, she is a girl baby. That sun-bright morning, Mama covered Seaborn's head with kisses as we held her by the fire, warming her from without and warming her from within. And just like Moses was cast upon the river in that little bitty ark that they made, this baby was cast upon the sea in the chest that they called the sea chest, the name of the book. So the girl called her Seaborn, for to them she was born out of the sea. And now it's like a summer day. It's beautiful. There's birds, there's flowers. And the little cute little girl is growing up. She's happy. And the 10-year-old girl, or maybe 11, she's got a little sister now. She's got a cute little sister. Through that frosty winter and on into feathery spring, alight with purple vetch and yellow buttercup, my sister slept inside the sea chest, until at last she grew too big. Then Papa built a trundle all her own, to tuck beneath my own tall bed. So Daddy made Seaborn a little bed to sleep by her big sister. And here is the picture. There it is. If you can see that. Yeah, she's by her big sister in a little bitty bed, because she grew out of the sea chest that she was sleeping in. I taught her how to gently probe for eggs in the dimness under the porch. We took turns circling double-yolked days and made a game of watching for the supply boat from the gallery deck. When the pumpkins ripened on the vine in sunburnt autumn, we carried them across the island and baked pumpkin pies with Mama. And here's the picture as they're waving to the boat coming to Sanctuary Island. She's with her new sister, and they're at the top of the lighthouse. And it is indeed a good picture. And why does the camera seem to keep going? There they are. There they are. And there's the bird. There they are waving. And there's the boat. And I'm about to fall out of my chair. There they are, waving in a nice day in the lighthouse at Sanctuary Island. I taught her reading as she grew. I will show the picture. She taught her reading as she grew. There's the older girl teaching Seaborn, how to read. Yes, they're reading. It looks like outside on something you'd call a deck. Under the light of a lantern, she's teaching her little sister Seaborn how to read. I taught her reading as she grew, and together we spun stories of the family living safe and sheltered above the rocks of Sanctuary Island. I spent my days and all the years of childhood with her, your great-grandmother, and my only sister, Seaborn. And when I left our island behind to become a bride, I will repeat, and when I left our island behind to become a bride, She soon followed me to this green mainland, married and lived close by until we buried her last spring, leaving me an only child again. Oh, I hated to read that. I did not know it was in the story. But even when they left Sanctuary Island, they both lived close together. And it looks like the story that this woman is telling to is the great-granddaughter of Seaborn. Here's another picture, the last picture of Sanctuary Island, if you can see that. There is one more page. Until Meta grows silent, and now I pause to remember my great-grandmother's whispery voice, sharing her stories of 2 island girls. But my dancing heart can't be still for long. Tripping wildly, it beats out, awaiting rhythm behind me. Great-grandmother Seaborn's oldest possession, a cracked and worn sea chest, lying with an eider-down quilt, waits open on the table for the tiny stranger my mama and papa have gone to fetch from so far across the wide Atlantic to be my sister. And there it is. Whatever that meant, I don't know. But they kept the sea chest so long ago, 80 years ago, and they kept the blanket the baby was in. And there it is, laying on the table where Seaborn was born or found, in the chest, in the sea chest. There's the girl looking. Yep, she is looking at the sea chest. And this ends the book, The Sea Chest. That ends the sea chest. There she is, holding the sea chest as she looks across the ocean. Thus ends a great book, The End. Hope you like it. Hope somebody watches it on YouTube. I made 1,000 mistakes plus the end of the sea chest.